Good morning. Hey, how is everybody today? I just keep clicking the wrong button. So that's me. Let's do this today. As everyone comes in, I'm not too bad. Shouldn't complain. How about you guys? Good, good, good. How was your Monday? Monday just has a reputation, you know? Good, 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 good. All right, I want to go ahead as we all enter. Go ahead and just dump. We're going to do a unit 2 brag. I've got it a brag board, talking about all the things we know. Oh, Miley might need to take that upstairs or turn it down.
Hi, Miss Rivenhouse. I know I have a tech issues right now. I'm Miss Stella, and I'll be doing two things at once. Okay.
Okay. Milo, that you're gonna have to turn that down, honey. Milo decided to come downstairs to do her class today. She is moving, so that's good because we've got 2 class connects going on simultaneously in this house. So I don't see anything on the board, and that makes me super sad. All right, so somebody put some stuff up here on the board. There we go. We got some drawings going. While you do that, I'm going to put the link to our class connect sessions that are recorded in the chat. So for those of you who are saying, I need a recording, help me find recordings, they're in the classroom, but there is the YouTube link. All right. And every day those get downloaded into the YouTube channel. Each unit has its own playlist. All right. And so for those of you asking about that, instead of sending out those links individually, and then if you go to the beginning of our content, you should also be able to see that. If you click into content in the classroom, the link is also in there. I'm going to take you there in a minute. Content, and then it actually says Class Connect recordings. And if you click on that, it'll give you the link, and then it'll give you student notes for each lesson. If you would like to have notes, that's fine. That's perfect. All right. So once you get that, you could click on that now and then favor that and add it to your playlist. Awesome. Well, I love what I'm seeing. I see ionic, I see covalent, I see some diagrams being created here. I love that I'm seeing this being a covalent bond there where they're sharing them evenly. These electrons are on the far side, they're being shared unevenly. What's our rock star element that all living things and things that used to be alive share? Yes. 100% Draven. Will you put that to our board? Carbon. Carbon, right? All life. Yes, all living things are created of carbon molecules and compounds. And we need carbon molecules and compounds to continue living. But honestly, they make up our genetic composition. So we need them. So that's what we're about to dive into today. Good hydrogen bonds. I love that. Flowers, plants, good. So let's pop into now our Unit 2, Lesson 2.12 and 2.13. All right, that is what we're going to be covering today in class. The list of today's objectives are long, But don't be intimidated by them. We're going to break this down. You're going to feel awesome when you leave. But before we do that, before we move into those, well, could I have somebody volunteer to read our goals for today? What in the world are we going to do in biology? What chemistry of biology are we going to be? Good. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we might have enough. So 1, 2, 3, 4. If I have one more volunteer, do I have one more volunteer? Can I have one more volunteer? And Lily. Good. So let's just go right down the list. So Gracie, Isaiah, Sully, Katie, and Lily. Let's take turns reading one of each of these goals today. Oh, I'm sorry, Draven.
Can I be heard?
Absolutely.
Yay, my microphone is not my microphone's working today. What 3 atoms are found in all carbohydrates? Thank you.
Can you hear me?
We hear ya.
Do I read the second one?
Yes, please. Thank you.
What are some of the examples of simple and complex carbohydrates?
Awesome. Thank you. Number 3. Yes, that'd be great, Sully.
What is the role of simple and complex carbohydrates in your body?
Good. Next up, Miss Katie.
What characteristics do starch and I'm not sure what that word is.
Glycogen. That's fine. Yeah, it's you.
Glycogen share.
Perfect. Last but not least, Lily.
How does the structure of a starch molecule relate to its function? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for jumping on your mics today and making class more fun. I love getting to hear your voices and for you to play an active role. So what I like to kind of do is sometimes take a highlighter and go through and highlight some of the key words in these. So we're going to look at what 3 atoms are in carbohydrates. How could any of you do that right now? Yes or no? Could you tell me 3 atoms that are in carbohydrates right now? From the periodic table, 3 atoms that are in carbohydrates. Getting some yeses, a large majority no. I'm guessing you might all be able to give me 1, but I'm kind of doubting that most of you could give me 3. All right, but we're going to be able to do that by the end of class. How about this? Give some examples of carbohydrates, both simple and complex. Do you think you could do that right now confidently and accurately? Give me some examples of simple and complex carbohydrates. Ooh, even less guesses. A little bit more coming in. All right, we're getting more positive responses, about 50-50 there. All right, what about a role of a simple and complex? Oh, we just did that. What am I doing? Well, that's kind of the same thing. The role. What is the role? Do we know the role of carbohydrates in our bodies? Yes or no? What is the role? That means, what is a role? What is some, if I said, what's your, like, I did determine your, a role, a bread. Ha! Yes, that it is a bread. Yeah, but what is, like, what is the purpose? What part do you play? All right. Most confident answers yet is that you could tell me, is there anyone brave enough to tell me what they think the role of carbohydrates is? Gracie.
Carbohydrates can be for food.
You're right.
Before.
But what is their role other than food?
Can I be heard?
You can.
Yes. Yay. I personally, if I remember correctly from the things that I have been shown and stuff, I think that the role of carbohydrates is to store energy for your body, maybe, or maybe it's kind of like a little energy storage, kind of, and that way, whenever you use it,
Good.
it's there. That's personally what I think, but I could be very.
Good, good, good. I like that. Energy. What about glycogen? Who knows what glycogen is and could tell me right now? Glycogen. Popping up a lot of negative responses for that. So glycogen is, yep. People are saying, I've never heard of glycogen. Of course, Gracie, I love it when you talk. And what does the structure of a starch relate to its function, right? We have that structure function again. Do you know the structure and function of a starch? Other than they might be related. Do you know what the structure of a starch is? Interesting. We have some people that know what the structure of a starch is. I'm impressed if you do. All right, so let's dive in. We've got our high points and weak points, what we think we know, what we do know, what we need to know by the end of class. And so without any further ado, let's go ahead and pop into carbohydrates today. All right, I think my favorite macromolecule is the carbohydrate. All right. What is a macromolecule? Before we jump into these pictures and carbohydrates, we are not going to dissect any animals this year, but we are going to dissect words. Who can tell me where we might split the word macromolecule? Where could we do a slice? Where should we do our first slice there? It is a macro. Yep, it's not micro. It is macro intentionally. But yes, so we would slice it right here. Macro. What does the prefix macro on the front of a word mean? Micro is not the same. Micro means small. So if micro means small, then what might macro mean? Yes. Good. I want everyone to type in chat. Macro equals big. Macro equals big. Yes. So macromolecules are big molecules. That's all it is. All right. Macromolecules are big molecules. I mean, tell me how easy that is. Seriously. Give me a green check, red X, right? So from now on, you're super smart because if somebody says, oh, that's one of the macromolecules, you'll say, oh, you know what a macromolecule is. It's a big molecule, right? We're feeling good. We're already learning big fancy words and it's only 8:43. All right. So macromolecules are molecules that living things need, big molecules that living things need. And in unit 2, we're going to learn about 4. Okay. Carbohydrates are the first macromolecule that we're going to learn about today that we need. All right. Have you ever heard of a comfort food? Have you ever heard of a comfort food? Yes. All right. In chat, tell me your favorite comfort food. What is your favorite comfort food? I'll tell you mine too. Taco salad. You know, that's a mildly healthy comfort food. I'm impressed. Pizza, yogurt, French onion chips or dip with chips, pasta, soup. That's close to mine, Heidi. Spaghetti. My comfort food is chicken noodles and mashed potatoes. Anybody else? Mac and cheese, hot dogs with ranch and cheese. Ah, pasta, biscuits. Oh, like a biscuits and gravy kind of breakfast. Anybody like biscuits and gravy? That's a comfort food. Yes. What about like a donut or pancakes and a waffle, like a big breakfast kind of thing? Feel like that's a good comfort food. Cornbread, bacon. Oh, Gracie, I'm jealous of your pancakes. French toast, chocolate and fruit. Yes. All right. There's a reason that these things are comfort foods for us. I know I'm hungry too. I told you we're going to talk about food a lot. Oh, another comfort food, chicken and waffles. All right. These are comfort foods, not just because your stomach is telling you that or your brain is telling you. There's a reason that your stomach and brain work together and tell you what your favorite comfort food is. And that's because of a chemical that is released in our brains when we eat these carbohydrates. When we eat these carbohydrates, serotonin is released from our brains. And guess what? How that makes us feel? That makes us feel happy. All right, those comfort foods make us feel happy. When you hear the word carbohydrate, what's the first thing that pops into your mind? Fat, bread, chips. Honestly, that's pretty accurate. Carbs, when you think of carbs, do you think healthy or unhealthy? Both. Unhealthy, unhealthy, unhealthy. Yeah, guys, I'm here to tell you carbs get a very bad rap, okay? 600-pound life. Yeah. Carbs get a bad rap. Some examples of carbs could be Cinnamon Toast Crunch, right? Any of your cereals. I feel like it might have been Gracie. I might be wrong. That said at the very beginning when we were going through our objectives, or shortly after, they said like wheat. Did someone say wheat? I saw that. Draven said wheat. So that wasn't far off. Our floury products are part of carbohydrates. So you have cereal as an example of carbohydrates. Bread, all right, is a form of carbohydrates. Pasta, noodles are form of carbohydrates. These are usually what we think of as carbohydrates. Cookies, brownies, pastries. Those are all carbohydrates. But you know what also is a carbohydrate? A banana. Are bananas bad for you? No. These are wonderful for you. These are great for you. All right? All carbohydrates are not created equal. And that's why we put this up here. Yes, there are unhealthy carbohydrates, but they're also really good carbohydrates. And regardless of the good or the bad, our bodies need carbohydrates. Our bodies need these things. It's a macromolecule that our body needs. And it's not just bananas and oranges, all right? So that we talked about the atoms that we would find in our carbohydrates. Here they are. All right, the first one is carbon, right? That's our rock star molecule of this unit. So 1 of 3 you already knew. Carbon, you knew. These other guys are very familiar. Oxygen and hydrogen, right? Those molecules that are also found in water. So in our simple carbohydrates, you're always going to have carbon, oxygen, and water. Those 3 molecules. Okay. I split this word for you, so we're going to dissect this. What is a monosaccharide? First of all, tell me what mono means. Mono. Anyone know that prefix mono? Yeah, one. Mono means one. Who knows what this silly word means? You guys are going to come out of this lesson feeling so fancy. Yeah, Tabby? Saccharide just means sugar. It's a fancy word for sugar. Like, why couldn't scientists just say monosugar or one sugar, right? Instead, we had to come up with this fancy word. We say monosaccharides. All right, monosaccharides are just molecules that are made of one sugar. All right, glucose and fructose are examples of monosaccharides. Okay, glucose and fructose are examples, or galactose are examples of monosaccharides. All right, they are made up of one sugar. Let's look over here. We also have what we call disaccharides. Where would we split disaccharides? I know it's kind of small, but somebody use their pen. Where would we dissect that word? You're right, Gracie. Somebody do it on the board. You got it. Yes, di. And some of you are already putting two sugars question mark on the board. You are right. All right. They are disaccharides are exactly what they also sound like. All right. They are made up of two sugars. Two sugars. All right. Those two sugar molecules are together and they create something. This is an example would be sucrose or lactose. Okay. This is a part of our lesson that I would say I would go back after class, make a flashcard for it. I would make a flashcard that says saccharide, and I'll flip it around, and on the back, I would put sugar. If you don't know what mono and di mean from like a math class previously, which you might not, all right, go ahead and do mono and 1 on the back, di with a 2 on the back. All right. Then I want you to make a flashcard that says monosaccharides. Flip it around and put these examples on there. Glucose, fructose, galactose. Put those on there. Write them down. That's another way of putting it in your brain. Every time you do something, it's another way, another time, another repetition and form of putting that in your mind. Another one, make a card that says disaccharides. Put sucrose and lactose. There are going to be things in science that make sense and processes that we can make charts for. And then there's just going to be some things that we just have to memorize. Okay. The fact that glucose, fructose, galactose, sucrose, and lactose, they all sound the same, right? What do they all end in? Glucose, fructose, galactose, sucrose. Yeah, you're right, Tabby. They end in the ose. And when they end in the ose, that's an identifier that it's a what? What are they all? Yeah, they're all sugars. So anytime you see that on a label, like let's pick up this pasta. I guarantee you there's an ose. Where is my ingredients list? This is actually a rather healthy pasta. I don't see an ose in this pasta. Pull up these breads and cereal. They definitely do. Let's look here for an ose. High fructose corn syrup. All right, is in this bread. All right, so when I see that ose, that tells me, guess what? There's a sugar in there. Let's look at the cereal. Fructose, dextrose. Right? So that tells me there's what in here? A sugar. What I have, this pasta is a Barilla pasta, but it's an orzo pasta. It's a rice-like pasta. It's really good. I have a really good recipe for this with a big round of like cheese you stick in. You put like this pasta, like a cup in like chicken broth in the oven with a big round of Boursin cheese, and it makes this like Alfredo-y, garlicky pasta that my kids love. It's so yummy and it's so easy. I'll have to send you the recipe, all right? But all of that to say is anytime we hear that ose, we know it's a sugar. But to keep them separate in our brain between monosaccharides and disaccharides, like that's a memory thing that we just might need to, sorry, Jenna, put that, okay, I'll put that in the announcements for sure. Okay. That's going to be something we just have to memorize. All right. So let's keep moving. We did the disaccharides, right? Our sucrose and our lactose. Lactose is a sugar that you find in dairy products. Is anyone here lactose intolerant? That means you cannot tolerate lactose in your diet. And honestly, a lot of us, if we eliminated dairy, we'd be surprised how much better we would feel. Or honestly, it may make you feel like your belly's big and bloated after you have lots of dairy. It's because it is challenging for our bodies to digest. All right. So simple carbohydrates, we have the monosaccharide that's made of one sugar. Our disaccharides here are made up of two sugars. And again, we do that when we combine them, they form a what? They form that bond, right? They come together. The way, the tool, the mechanism that they come together is by sharing electrons and forming a bond, rather it be ionic or covalent. Okay. So polysaccharides. I made this easy for you because I dissected it kind of. Polysaccharides. So we had monosaccharides are one sugar, disaccharides, they're two sugars. Now we get to polysaccharides. We've already said that saccharides are sugars, so we know it's what? But what does poly mean? Ooh, good. You're not wrong, Jenna. Let's add Jenna plus Gracie. Yeah, poly means many. So it's basically three or more. Okay. Polysaccharides, if we simplify, instead of saying three or more, we say many, right? A polysaccharide are many sugars, all right, that make up what we call complex sugars. Basically, anything over two sugars together are what we call complex carbohydrates. All right. So we have polysaccharides, and these are some examples of polysaccharides. Again, this would be a good flashcard. What is a polysaccharide? Well, a starch is a polysaccharide. It has many sugars in them. All right. Plants often make too much sugar. Like they are just out there in the sun and they are working and they're working overtime. So plants store this extra glucose that they create as starches. All right. They kind of put it away as something else. Just like my clothes, my winter clothes I haven't pulled out yet. I have a few of my fall clothes, but in the winter or in the spring, I take all my clothes and I roll them up and I stick them in a plastic tub because I don't have room in my closet. And so I store them actually as a plastic box. So this is kind of an example. When the plants make too much glucose, they roll them up and they store them in this box. And it looks like something different, right? It looks like something different. A starch molecule has a branching pattern. So it would look like this. These complex carbohydrates would have branches on them, just like a tree that would be long and complicated. Okay. Cellulose is another polysaccharide, and it is also in plants. It's what makes them strong. We're going to talk about more about cellulose a lot more actually this year, especially in the next unit. But all I want you to know right now is that cellulose is a polysaccharide. Okay. Go for it, Jonathan.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Watch. I think now my headphones are finally fixed.
Good.
For some reason. Not. Okay. It's fixed.
Perfect.
All right. After class, can you post the slides, please?
Sure, absolutely.
First, so that some students can look at it.
I sure can. Awesome. So then our last form of complex carbohydrates is called glycogen. Okay. It is a polysaccharide, and animals like us store glucose as glycogen. All right. We store that in the muscle cells, in our liver cells. And that's kind of, it's like, do any of you have a like backup food supply? I don't know if you do. I don't have a lot, but above my pantry, there's a higher shelf because I'm short and I can't reach it. I don't like every week I'll be like, oh, buy like 4 extra cans of green beans. And then next week, maybe I'll buy 4 extra cans of corn. And then the next week I'll buy like 4 cans of, I don't know, peas or something. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like my stock up there so that if I'm cooking and I need something and it's gone, then I can look up there in my higher storage. That's kind of like what is going on in glycogen. All right. So let's look at this. Can you visually tell a difference between these two molecules? Yes or no? I mean,
They're different.
Yeah, they are different. How are they different, Jonathan? How do they look different? How does this one over
It's
here?
because they're two same molecules.
Almost
the
yeah.
same.
Does this one look smaller?
And that one on the right looks larger.
Yes. Perfect, Jonathan. So this is larger.
Yes, sorry about that. Like the ocean that has salt, rigidly, like a thing that we don't drink from. Only use it for some things.
Yeah, you're right. So what we see here is that this looks smaller, and it's because it is. This is a simple carbohydrate. This is our monosaccharide. Here you're going to see sucrose. It's a disaccharide, and you can see that it is 2 molecules joined together here by this oxygen that they share to make it a di or 2 sugar compound. Good. I love that you can visually see the difference there. So if this would be a question at the end of our course test, even if you blank out and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know how to answer this question, what I want you, yes, great job, Jonathan. You're going to be able to visually see. I want you guys to be so sense smart. Does that make sense? That even that if you don't have to have all this database of things in your head, you will, but to have everything memorized, that's going to be hard. But if you work smarter, not harder, kind of a thing, right? Where you're like, well, clearly this is smaller and this is larger. So if I have to pick between which one's a monosaccharide and which one's a disaccharide, I don't have to know anything I don't have to know anything about all of these atoms or bonds or whatever else. I'm smart enough to know, Mrs. Rittenhouse taught me that mono means 1 and di means 2. And so I mean di is bigger. So I don't even care if I don't remember what a saccharide is. I know mono is 1, di is 2, so I can match these up. Does that make sense? Does that make you feel confident and strong? And like, I'm already in some ways ready for this test because I don't need to know what any of those atoms are. I don't need to know what kind of bonds they have. I don't need to remember that saccharide is a sugar because I know mono is 1 and di is 2 and 2 is bigger than 1. You should feel so good. Okay. That is part of what I want to teach you this year is to to know the little things and have confidence in those things, because I'm going to be honest with you, that could 100% be a question at the end of the year. Is showing you those two pictures and have you labeling them monosaccharide and disaccharide, because they want to use those big words to try to be like, oh, this is an intimidating word. Can you do it? And you're like, that doesn't intimidate me. I know what mono and di means, and that's all I need to know. Okay? I want you to have confidence in that. All right. This sums up today. Are you ready? Carbon. All right. It is the base of a carbohydrate. What do carbohydrates do for us, guys? You're 100% right. The number one energy source for each and every one of our bodies is carbohydrates. Okay? This is exactly what our bodies need to feel energy. Even though Mrs. Rittenhouse is drinking coffee every morning and I think this is what gives me energy, it does, right? This banana actually gives me way more energy than my coffee does. All right. This banana, this pasta, cereal, bread, these are what it's our primary source of energy for living things. Our cells cannot live without energy. All right. So I want you to think this when you think about carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are made of the base molecule carbon. They give all living things energy. And guess what? Even though carbohydrates get a bad rap, carbohydrates are so good. All right? Carbohydrates are so good. Our body needs carbohydrates. Now, if all I did all day long was eat Cinnamon Toast Crunch, is this a good thing? I mean, seriously, if all I did was eat carbohydrates, no. I mean, I need carbohydrates in moderation, right? If that's where my body is getting its food source from carbohydrates, I need to be eating carbohydrates. But if I eat bad carbohydrates that have long lists of ingredients that have OS in them, right? And there are certain long complex carbohydrates that are just kind of basically scientifically created, right? We as man created this carbohydrate. Any man-made carbohydrate is not as good for us as carbohydrates that come from nature, right? These are things that our body is designed to break down. Does that make sense? Carbohydrates that come from nature are carbohydrates that our body is used to breaking down. It's not used to Cinnamon Toast Crunch, right? Back in the day, there wasn't such a thing as Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Early human beings weren't walking around eating bowls of Lucky Charms. It does not mean that we shouldn't ever have them and that they're whatever, like that we're going to die from eating these. Okay. But these more pure forms of carbohydrates are really what our body is designed to digest. All right. It makes it happy, our body happier to try to digest a banana than it does a hot dog bun. All right. Who's ever heard of a keto diet? Yeah, the keto diet is when you actually eliminate carbohydrates completely. Completely. Listen, I if any of you have tried it or your parents or people you love have tried it, I'm not going to knock them, but guess what? It is a tool that people use to lose weight quickly. There's a reason it works, but it's because it's starving your body of what your body is waking up and looking for. Truly. And instead of going to carbon, it's going to be talking about another macromolecule that we're going to learn about this week, which is fat. Carbohydrates and fats are not the same. But when you do that to your body, you start to deprogram your body of the things that it naturally needs, and it goes into its reserve, and it starts messing up your hormones. All right. And long term, a keto diet can be very damaging to your body's metabolism. And your metabolism, we talked about that in Unit 1, is how your body takes in food and processes it and distributes it to your body. I know. And your hormones get a bad rap because you also start thinking about acne and mood swings and all of the things that we think about reproductively with hormones, but hormones drive your everyday. All right, hormones are so much more important than just reproduction and mood swings. All right. Awesome. I could talk to you literally about this all day. I love food science. I love learning about how the things that we put in our body make our body run and behave and act. Okay. And that's what we're learning about. This is so relevant because this is affecting you today. Your body needs, your cells need carbohydrates today to function. So go get yourself some before your next class. All right, we are going to get some carbohydrates so that you have energy for the rest of the day. What atoms are found in all carbohydrates? Somebody put it in chat for me. Our rock star molecule. Carbon. Yes. Oxygen. Yes. One more. Hydrogen. Yes, we nailed it. You got it. Goal accomplished. What are some examples of simple and complex carbohydrates? Who remembers those OSIS? Simple. It's a simple. Yes, fructose. That's a simple. What about a complex? Oh, yeah, mono and dioses. Good. Who remembers a complex? Think dairy. Think dairy. A starch. Good. Lactose. Good. Perfect. What is the role? Why do we need carbohydrates in our body? Yeah, everybody type energy. Everybody type that right now. Carbs equal energy. Carbs equal energy. All right. Carbs are important for energy. Glycogen and starch, what do they share? They're not simple. They are what? Complex. You absolutely can do that. They are complex. So they're characteristics that they share, that they are basically energy overflow. Remember how we talked about that? Starch and cellulose, they're kind of like backup from our plants. Oh, it was talking about glycogen. I'm sorry. Glycogen and starches are backup from animals and plants that we store, energy that we store for later. Okay, so this is energy storage. And how does the structure of a starch molecule relate to its function? We didn't get totally into that, but those starches have a branching pattern. And the reason they do that branching pattern that we talked about up here, is that space allows for almost like the Pac-Man things that to digest them, to be able to, they're basically in small pieces. Does that make sense? Because they branch like that, they're easy to break apart. They can break easy. Does that make sense to everybody? The branching of a starch makes it have spots that you can easily break it at. Okay. Think of Like if you connected a bunch of things end to end, I can't think of something that you would be able to break, 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 break. Okay. Like a bunch of glow sticks with those little connectors. That's like what it is. That there's a point in those complex starches that makes it easily digestible. Yes, I know we're going late. We accomplished our goals. You are awesome. You participated. You worked through it. You told me what you know. Carbs are not bad. You may go to your next class. Go get yourself a carbohydrate for some energy for the rest of the day, and I will see you tomorrow morning. Thank you for being here and being so awesome. Bye, Dylan. Ooh, that sounds good, Draven. You have a good day too, Heidi. See ya. I'm so glad you had fun. I have fun with you all. Oh, good. Have an absolutely fantastic day.